Welcome to Pax Europiana. I've published an open letter to the Austrian government, which I would like to read out now here and publish as well on my video podcast. It's of course for NATO membership. Dear President, dear Prime Minister, dear Deputy Prime Minister, dear Foreign Minister, to the pro-European opposition leaders of Austria, and dear NATO and EU ambassadors accredited to immoral, neutral Austria. You see, the direction is clear, and I call Austrian neutrality immorality, and it has to end now. Following up on the open letters I sent you in November 2021 on fast-tracking EU and Euro and NATO enlargement for the 9 accession countries during the build-up of the Russian war machine during 2021, now, 1 year on, and the major war in Europe ongoing, I send you the next open letter to call for European Austria to change her pro-Russian trajectory. It's time to complete our integration in the West, NATO and the free world as our answer and contribution to the Russian war. Against the Russian war would be more meaningful. As the first war year is closing and Austrian foreign policy has not changed significantly, and we are continuing immoral neutrality. I hope this letter and the 2,477 brave European Austrians who signed for NATO membership will no longer be ignored. I write this open letter in English and send it to all NATO and EU allies to call for help to end Austrian neutrality, as given the Russian powerful grip on Austrian political elite, there is no hope for Austria to change without confronting Austrian neutrality by the NATO and EU allies. You must confront the underlying immorality, anti-Americanism, anti-German and anti-Eastern European sentiments, and the lack of solidarity with Ukraine, and the lack of solidarity with our fellow EU citizens, and you must not allow Austria to stay neutral or face expulsion of EU. The choice between the EU and NATO, or a decline into EFTA and Switzerland outside and neutral status, will be imposed to Austria with a debate on the EU joining NATO, my central campaign issue in 2023, and the ever closer integration between NATO and EU, the twin pillars of the West in Europe. To avoid Austria further isolation and potential loss of EU membership status, I call on Austrian government and parliament to may undertake the following 10 measures in 2023. End neutrality and join NATO by cancelling the neutrality law of 1955 by a 4-party consensus decision against the Russian friends of Putin in the FPÖ, and completing our integration in the Western free world and the alliance of Western democracies, NATO, and to which we belong as EU member state. Extradite Dimitru Firtash to the USA and start an Austrian parliamentary inquiry committee into his party funding since 2014, especially the 2017 elections. It is big outrage that he is residing in Vienna even 9 months in the war. It is mainly due to his activities as black box for Russian funding, jointly with Oleg Deripaska, the second oligarch assigned by Austria by Putin, with a massive and powerful grip on Austria over 22 years and significant compromat assembled by them and Reisnerstraße holding our politicians hostage. Maybe to explain, Reisnerstraße is the seat of the Russian embassy in Vienna, the Kommandatura. Third, Austria joining the EU training mission for Ukraine immediately. We are still not member of that one. Fourth, Austria preparing the defense industry to supply Ukraine once we have applied to NATO during spring 2023, same as fellow ex-neutrals Sweden and Finland. Do that right now. Austria to ban all energy imports and trade with Russia by 24 February 2023, 1 year after the start of the war. 1 year of preparation should be enough to integrate our energy system within the EU and end the Russian complicity of our energy collaboration. Sixth, Austria stop delaying and undermining EU sanctions against Russia with constant demands for delays, exceptions for Russian energy, trade, banking and oligarchs. Seventh, Austria to stop the pro-Orban and pro-Vucic mesalliance currently under development and return to support the NATO allies of the European Balkans, and support fast-track Eurozation and EU membership of NATO allies Albania, Montenegro, North Macedonia, ready to vote for the European Parliament 2024, and NATO and EU and Euro membership of Bosnia and Kosovo, and distance Austria clearly from pro-Russian Serbia, whose EU candidate status must be frozen until possible turn back to West, documented by recognition of Kosovo. Austria, establish a European advocacy for Austria, Ukraine, Bosnia and Kosovo, and possible Ireland, Malta, Georgia, and best as well Cyprus and Moldova to join NATO at the Vilnius summit, and advocate that the EU shall be invited as political union to join NATO ahead of the European Parliament elections 2024. The answer to the Russian war must be more unity in NATO and the EU and the Eurozone. Here Austria shall be in the forefront and not an obstacle, as currently, as in the sad case of Austrian populist rejection of Schengen enlargement. And yes to Schengen enlargement of Romania and Bulgaria. Ninth, Austria shall open her labor market fully to all EU candidate countries and support Kosovo, Bosnia, Georgia to be EU candidate countries in 2023, and make sure that from July 2023 all citizens of the 9 incoming states can work freely inside the European Union member state Austria, and advocate this policy EU-wide. 10th, allow a debate in public on membership in NATO and change the media situation, as since the Chancellor has closed the debate on security, which I started in January with my op-ed in the Presse, and which was progressing during the first part of the year until Sweden and Finland really applied in May. At this moment the debate was closed on Russian request, once Finland and Sweden committed in public to apply in May 2020. And then the instruments of Russian power in Austria, Heinz Fischer for the Social Democrats and Wolfgang Schüssel for the Volkspartei, intervened strictly and stopped the debate in ORF, our public television, and most print media in Vienna. You will find no public debate from June to now in Austrian public TV, ORF, or the main media based in Vienna. During my presentation campaign September to December for the Nato petition, I was able to reach the media in Western Austria, less under direct Russian control. I'm often asked why there is no debate anymore and what is the difference between Sweden and Finland and Austria, and yes, the answer is simple: the lasting, powerful, significant control of Heinz Fischer on the Social Democrats and Wolfgang Schüssel on the Christian Democratic Party, the twin pillars of Putin power in Vienna for the last 22 years, and the attached media interest. This must change. Austria must be a normal EU member state inside NATO, as 97% of our fellow EU citizens are already secure in NATO, and we want to be secure in NATO as EU. Thanks a lot, Günther Fehlinger from the Austrian Committee of NATO Enlargement of Austria, Kosovo, Bosnia, Ukraine and the EU, because I will extend the campaign not only on Austrian NATO enlargement, but I'm also doing that already since years, to campaign for Kosovo NATO enlargement, Bosnia NATO enlargement, Ukraine and the European Union. Especially the focus will be the EU to join the European Union in the coming years ahead of the European Parliament election. I thank you very much for your attention, and looking forward to cooperate to implement the demands, or the 10 demands which are outlined at the end of 2022, and on which I will work during 2023. And please, Austria, this is very serious. Please join NATO and be a normal EU country, a normal European country. This is about time. We are not different than any other countries. We are not different to Sweden, Finland. We have no special way towards peace or no kind of special morality. It's immoral, it's against EU solidarity, it's unsustainable, it's irresponsible to stay neutral, and please join NATO now. Thanks a lot. All the best from Pax Europiana. Bye.